we're testing out the pillability of Plastidip with Auto Gloss enamel on it to see if it will still come off properly, and what varying cure levels of the Plastidip if it makes a difference before you put the enamel on. Now these three pieces have the Plastidip on the other side. They are vinyl, sets of vinyl, so the test may be interesting because Plastidip doesn't necessarily bond to vinyl as well as other products. But the red, all three of them I applied Plastidip to at the same time. 5 coats of Plastidip on each. I just varied the cure times before I applied the enamel. For the red, I waited 30 minutes, and then applied enamel. For the gray, I waited 1 day, then applied the enamel. And then for the green, I waited 3 days before applying the enamel. So now let's see if it makes a difference in pillability. Well, first, you can tell that I had some come off there. I accidentally, in the garage, the wind blew, and sometime, after a day or two of it already being applied, the paper towel landed on there. So when I pulled it off, it had kind of stuck. But you can also see some of those flat areas. That was actually from me after they cured for over a week. I had them sitting on top of each other, and it kind of stuck, and it popped off some of the enamel, but it didn't peel off the Plastidip in that case. So it doesn't seem like it's a possibility that the enamel isn't bonding quite properly to the Plastidip. But let's go ahead and get on with the pill test here. See if I can do this with one hand. And that seems to be peeling off decently well. Kind of hard to do this one-handed. So as you can hear, you can kind of hear some of the tearing because it is. You're also peeling away the enamel as well on top of it. But it's coming off in smaller pieces. It's not quite as easy to peel off in one bigger chunk. So you can see it's kind of tearing on me a lot. I think part of it is I'm just using one hand. But I did have a thick enough layer. The enamel did not bond to the vinyl beneath, so it is peeling off okay. Although it doesn't seem to peel off quite as easy as if I would have not had the enamel on there. So that's the results of doing it with 30 minutes, applying the enamel 30 minutes after the Plastidip has been applied. Okay, this gray piece was sitting for 1 day first, and let's see if that makes a difference in how well it peels. And that seemed to have gotten a lot better start. Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys can tell the difference there, but that is peeling a lot better, a lot faster. So that let it set for 1 day. And in not even the time it took me to do that little area there, I pretty much had this entire piece peeled off. So just based on that alone, I would probably recommend, if you do use enamel, I would recommend letting it set for an entire day at least before applying enamel over Plastidip, because you can tell I was getting just little chunk after little chunk there, and still I can't even get a solid peel off of that. So huge difference in letting the Plastidip set for a day. Now let's see if I don't expect really much of a difference for letting it set for 3 days, but let's go ahead and check that out and see. Stuck to the edge a little bit. There we go. And interestingly enough, it broke on me at first. Let's see how it goes. And that is actually, ironically, this sat for 3 days, and I'm having the same problem as it did for the red one. Now, if I actually go back and kind of feel what I did on that gray one, it actually feels like I got a slightly thicker coat of the Plastidip down. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you actually first was this is the auto enamel, and one of the concerns that was brought up to me was the flexibility of the product with the enamel on it. As you can see, it actually flexes quite nicely. I'm not getting any cracks or the enamel breaking at all. It is flexing with it, no problem. What I did notice, and you can see how these set right now, they're kind of curled up. When I started with this, they were flat for the most part. As the enamel dried more and cured over a few days, it pulled up the edges and made the material curve. But that's just because it's more a very flexible material. So let's peel a little bit more off here. I would say this is peeling pretty close to what the red did. So, but I can tell that the coating of Plastidip I got on this piece is just a little bit thinner than the other. Now it feels like I'm hitting just a thicker section right there. And that feels like, get the camera right, feels like that little bit of area until I hit a thinner section peeled off just fine. So if you do use this particular enamel, I'd recommend getting a very good coat of Plastidip down first. A nice solid coat. Make it nice and thick. When I did that on the gray one, I had no problems peeling it off whatsoever. It came right off. The other two, even though there was a 3-day difference in cure time, it seemed to be a thinner coat of Plastidip, and I did have problems peeling it off. I did get recommended to try out the Krylon Clear for plastics, which I think that will actually probably work better. It's not as glossy. I did buy some. I have not got a chance to test it out. I might go ahead and test it out on these again. But I will post up a separate video for that, and that way we can compare the results of using a regular auto enamel versus the Krylon that's for plastics. Hope this helps. Thanks.